You're sitting in the doctor's office. The cuff squeezes your arm. Tight, tighter. And then the number flashes on the screen. 142/91. Your doctor sighs. You've heard this sound before. You cut the salt. You stopped adding it to your eggs. You switched to low-sodium everything. You even gave up the foods you actually enjoyed. You took the medication. Maybe 2 medications. You checked your numbers at the pharmacy kiosk every Sunday like clockwork. And that number barely moved. What if salt was never the main driver of your blood pressure? What if the real causes have been hiding in places nobody thought to look? If your blood pressure is already under control, this is still worth your time, because you're about to learn the hidden drivers that could undo your progress without warning. And if you've done everything right and your numbers still won't come down, this was made for you. Welcome to Yellowhead Science, where we turn complex lifestyle health research into simple steps you can start using today. And if you subscribe, you'll see exactly how these hidden blood pressure drivers connect to sleep, metabolism, and gut health in upcoming videos. Here's the misconception that's been costing you, that high blood pressure is mostly about salt. Salt does matter, for some people, but here's what the research actually shows. A 2016 analysis published in the American Journal of Hypertension found that only about 25% of people with normal blood pressure and roughly 50% of those with hypertension are actually salt sensitive. That means for up to half of all hypertensives, cutting salt aggressively may barely move the needle. A 2021 study by Morris uncovered something even more revealing. The racial differences in salt sensitivity that researchers had tracked for decades nearly disappeared when potassium intake exceeded 87 millimoles per day. The problem wasn't too much salt. It was too little of what balances it. So if salt isn't the whole story, what is? In the next few minutes, I'm going to walk you through 7 hidden causes of high blood pressure that most people, and many doctors, never connect to those numbers on the cuff. Each one is backed by published research, and each one comes with something you can actually do about it. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly which of these causes might be driving your numbers, and what to do about every single one. Let's start with the one that shocks most people: magnesium. Your blood vessels need magnesium to relax. Without it, they stay constricted, like a garden hose with a kink that never loosens. Here's the mechanism. Magnesium activates an enzyme called endothelial nitric oxide synthase, ENOS. That enzyme produces nitric oxide, the molecule that tells your blood vessel walls to widen. No magnesium, less nitric oxide, tighter vessels, higher pressure. 48%. That's the share of Americans who aren't getting enough magnesium from their diet. Nearly half the country is running low. A 2025 meta-analysis by Argyros and colleagues, published in the journal Hypertension, examined magnesium supplementation specifically in people already taking blood pressure medication. The result? An additional 7.68 millimeters of mercury drop in systolic blood pressure, on top of their medication. That's not a replacement for your prescription. That's what was missing alongside it. The protocol: 300 to 500 milligrams of magnesium daily. The forms that absorb best for blood pressure are glycinate, taurate, or citrate. Skip magnesium oxide. Your body barely absorbs it. This is the part most people miss. You don't need to be diabetic to have insulin resistance driving your blood pressure up. Roughly 50% of people with hypertension are insulin resistant, and most of them have no idea. Here's chronically high. Your kidneys start hoarding sodium. Insulin activates specific sodium channels in the kidney, called ENAC and NCC, that force your body to reabsorb salt instead of excreting it. Your kidneys become a recycling plant that won't shut down. So you're cutting salt at the dinner table while your kidneys are stuffing it right back into your bloodstream. Now here's where it gets interesting. A 2010 study by Yancey found that 47% of participants on a low-carbohydrate diet were able to reduce or eliminate their blood pressure medication, compared to just 21% on a low-fat diet. And a 2023 trial called Mahiro, led by Saslow, revealed that a low-carb approach dropped systolic blood pressure by 9.77 millimeters of mercury compared to a DASH diet, the diet most doctors hand you when they diagnose hypertension. And that changes everything. I want to be honest here. Low carb isn't the only path to improving insulin sensitivity. Exercise, weight loss through any sustainable method, and time-restricted eating all help. The point isn't that you must go low carb. It's that if your insulin is running high, no amount of salt restriction will fix what your kidneys are doing behind the scenes. Ask your doctor for a fasting insulin test. If it's above 10 microunits per milliliter, insulin resistance may be a significant driver of your blood pressure. Here's where the salt conversation gets completely reframed. It was never just about how much sodium you eat. It's about the ratio of sodium to potassium in your diet. Your ancestors ate a sodium-to-potassium ratio of roughly 1 to 16. The modern Western diet has flipped that ratio to 1.4 to 1. That's not a subtle shift. That's a complete reversal of what your cardiovascular system was built to handle. Potassium relaxes blood vessels through a process called vascular hyperpolarization, like slowly releasing a valve that's been cranked too tight. It also dials down your sympathetic nervous system, the fight-or-flight wiring that keeps your pressure stuck on high. A 2013 WHO meta-analysis by Alberto confirmed that increasing potassium intake dropped systolic blood pressure by 5.32 millimeters of mercury in people with hypertension. And the landmark SSASS trial in 2021, over 20,000 participants, demonstrated that simply switching to a salt substitute made of 75% sodium chloride and 25% potassium chloride reduced stroke by 14%. 14% from switching your salt. The protocol? Aim for 3,500 to 4,700 milligrams of potassium daily from food. Best sources? Potatoes, avocados, spinach, beans, and coconut water. And consider switching your table salt to a potassium-enriched substitute. It's one of the cheapest, simplest interventions with some of the strongest evidence behind it. This one hides in your glass. Every time you drink a soda, a sweetened coffee, or fruit juice, your liver processes the fructose through an enzyme called fructokinase. That process burns through your cell's energy currency, ATP, so fast that it generates a waste product, uric acid. Uric acid does something most people don't realize. It directly scavenges nitric oxide, the same relaxation molecule your arteries depend on. Your vessels stiffen like pipes that lost their flexibility. On top of that, uric acid activates your renin-angiotensin system, the body's built-in blood pressure-raising machinery. A 2008 study by Feig, published in JAMA, took adolescents with high uric acid and newly diagnosed hypertension and gave them allopurinol to lower uric acid. Systolic blood pressure dropped by 6.9 millimeters of mercury, just by addressing uric acid. A 2024 meta-analysis by Zhao quantified the risk. Each additional 250 grams per day of sugar-sweetened beverages increased hypertension risk by 26%. Here's the key distinction. Whole fruit is protective. The fiber slows fructose absorption and prevents that ATP crash. It's the liquid fructose, sodas, juices, sweetened drinks, that triggers the uric acid spike. The protocol? Eliminate sugar-sweetened beverages. If you drink juice, switch to whole fruit instead. If your uric acid is above 6 milligrams per deciliter, talk to your doctor about whether it's contributing to your blood pressure. You can eat perfectly and exercise daily. If you're not sleeping, your blood pressure doesn't care. A 2024 meta-analysis by Habibi, covering over 1 million participants, confirmed that sleeping fewer than 7 hours per night increases hypertension risk. But here's the part that matters more. Obstructive sleep apnea is present in 50% of people with hypertension. And in those with resistant hypertension, blood pressure that won't respond to 3 or more medications, the rate climbs to between 64 and 82%. Think about that for a second. Every time you stop breathing during sleep, your oxygen drops and your body floods with stress hormones, like a fire alarm blaring through every organ, night after night. Your cardiovascular system never gets the reset it was designed to have. And 75% of people with severe sleep apnea have no idea they have it. A 2021 meta-analysis by Labarca confirmed that CPAP therapy dropped systolic pressure by 5.06 millimeters of mercury in resistant hypertension, blood pressure that nothing else could move. The protocol: if your blood pressure is stubborn despite medication, ask your doctor about a home sleep study. If you snore, wake up gasping, or feel exhausted despite a full night of sleep, get tested. This could be the missing piece nobody checked for. You probably expected stress to be on this list, but the mechanism is more permanent than most people realize. When you're stressed, your body activates two systems. The SAM axis floods you with adrenaline. The HPA axis pumps out cortisol. Both raise blood pressure. That's the part everyone knows. Here's the part they don't. Your arteries have built-in pressure sensors called baroreceptors. They detect when pressure climbs too high and signal your brain to bring it back down. But after just 48 hours of sustained high pressure, those sensors recalibrate. They accept the new higher pressure as the new normal, like a thermostat that someone nudged up and never set back. A 2022 study by Laux demonstrated that an adapted mindfulness program dropped systolic blood pressure by 5.9 millimeters of mercury. And a 2024 meta-analysis by El Hakim confirmed that structured, slow breathing, specifically 6 breaths per minute, dropped systolic pressure by 7.06 millimeters of mercury. That's a bigger drop than many people get from their first blood pressure medication. The protocol: 10 minutes of slow breathing daily. 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out. 6 breaths per minute. This isn't wellness fluff. It physically retrains baroreceptors downward. Consistency matters more than duration. This is the one that should concern you, because it's a medical condition hiding in plain sight. Primary aldosteronism means your adrenal glands are pumping out too much aldosterone, a hormone that forces your kidneys to retain sodium and dump potassium. Your blood pressure rises and stays high, and no amount of lifestyle changes will fully fix it because the problem is hormonal, not behavioral. Here's how common it actually is. A 2020 study by Brown, using proper diagnostic testing, discovered that primary aldosteronism affects between 15.7 and 21.6% of people with hypertension, not the 1 to 2% that older textbooks claimed. The 2025 Endocrine Society guideline now recommends screening all hypertensive patients. Yet fewer than 2% of hypertensives are ever tested. The old shortcut was to check potassium first. If it's low, then investigate. But between 63 and 80% of people with primary aldosteronism carry completely normal potassium levels. That shortcut misses almost everyone. And a 2018 study by Montacone revealed that untreated primary aldosteronism carries 2.58 times the stroke risk compared to essential hypertension with the same blood pressure numbers. Same numbers on the cuff, but dramatically different risk. Like two identical-looking bridges where one has rotting supports underneath. The protocol? Ask your doctor for an aldosterone to renin ratio test. It's a simple blood draw. If you have resistant hypertension, if you're younger than 40, or if your blood pressure spiked suddenly, this test could change everything. So let's bring this together. You're no longer just cutting salt and hoping for the best. You're replenishing the magnesium that your blood vessels have been starving for. You're addressing the insulin resistance that's been forcing your kidneys to hoard sodium behind your back. You're restoring the potassium ratio your cardiovascular system was designed to run on. You're cutting off the liquid fructose pipeline that stiffens your arteries through uric acid. You're investigating whether sleep apnea has been sabotaging your pressure every single night. You're retraining the baroreceptors that stress pushed out of calibration. And you're asking the one question about aldosterone that 98% of hypertensives never think to ask. Here's what a realistic timeline looks like. Week 1. Start magnesium, switch to a potassium-enriched salt, eliminate sugary drinks, begin the breathing protocol. You may notice a small shift. Weeks 2 through 4. Improve sleep hygiene, reduce refined carbohydrates, establish consistency with the breathing. Your body starts recalibrating. Weeks 4 through 8. Request blood work. Fasting insulin, uric acid, aldosterone to renin ratio, magnesium, and vitamin D. These numbers tell you which causes are actually driving your specific blood pressure. Weeks 8 through 12. With targeted changes based on your results, most people see meaningful and sustained improvement. Drop a comment below and tell me which of these 7 causes surprised you the most. I read every single one. And if this video on blood pressure helped you in any way, share it with someone you love who is also struggling with numbers that won't come down. And if you're not subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next video. Stay tuned as we continue breaking down lifestyle science into videos you can actually use.